Hey everybody, welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast, a baseball podcast, and it's hosted by myself, I'm Kevin McCaffrey, and it's hosted by Adam Mamawala, New Jersey's own. What's up, Adam?
How you doing?
I'm fine. You're with your parents' spot in quarantine in Jersey, right?
I am moving into I guess week 3 here.
Okay, yeah. Any new developments week 3? You learning anything about each other?
Yeah, I guess so. I think the idiosyncrasies that any of us have start to reveal themselves. Once. Even when I lived here as a child, I never spent 24 hours a day with my family. You know what I mean? So it's like, from that perspective, it's a little jarring.
Yes, there would be activities to do in your daily life that gets you away from each other that you don't have now. Also, right. I think whenever I'm home, I love my mom, but whenever I'm home, I turn into sullen teenage Kevin immediately. I just regress to the person I was when I lived there permanently.
I could not agree more. It's so funny how that happens. It's almost like this muscle memory kicks in of like, well, I'm like in my childhood bedroom again, so I guess I'm a child.
Yeah.
There's a part, and also it's just like even doing things that I don't do now that I fall back in. Like I've eaten so much bread since I've been.
You're big on bread. You and Oprah loving bread.
These walls makes me eat bread.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah, no, that's a mom move. I do think all. In my experience, moms, their idea of food or nutrition or whatever is like frozen in time. As like carbs don't exist in mom land, you know?
No. And there's this weird thing where mentally, like if my mom makes it for me, it's in my mind, it's healthy. Even if it's objectively not, it's like, well, she made it. So like it has to be good for me because she loves me and therefore it must be good for me.
Yeah, and moms know stuff. Totally.
But I did one thing that I did while I was home was I was assigned the task of going through old crap in my room, which is a fair assignment. I haven't done that in 20 years.
Sure.
And I went through and organized all of my random autographed baseballs and found some nice gems.
Ooh, what you got?
Well, I think we discussed this on the last podcast, but I found the ball that is autographed by Ted Lilly, Ryan Dempster, and ya boy, Micah Hoffpower.
Yes, okay, that's a good, yeah.
I found a ball autographed by Matt Merton.
Love that. I was such a big Merton guy back in the day.
Yep. I have a Cliff Floyd autographed ball.
Okay, yeah. I
met him after a game one time at Shea.
Fun. Good, underrated player, good bat,
yep.
Corner outfielder.
And
Uh-oh. Adam was pausing, and then the internet froze. So there is.
I want you to guess a utility infielder for the Cubs whose autograph I have. I would say
Jose Macias.
Early to mid 2000s. Come on, have I told you this Jose Macias
No,
story?
Did I get it?
Yes.
Oh shit! I ruined
Come on.
it. Yeah. Jose,
my God, that's insane.
Well, I feel that is weird. I feel like when I think Cubs utility infielder, weirdly he's almost the first one that comes to mind, unless you're thinking Doug DeCenzo, Jose Vizcaino era, like early '90s would be what I think of after that. I feel like we haven't had, as Cubs fans, we are Cubs fans. If this is the first time you're listening to our podcast, what a weird choice to be tuning into baseball podcasts starting now. But welcome. But yeah, we are Cubs fans, and I don't think we've had a lot of like sort of what you would describe as a prototypical utility infielder.
Jonathan Herrera,
yeah. God, is that a rich man's Jose Macias? It's hard to say. He had the hands on the helmet.
Yeah, he had the hand thing. I think he's most remembered for that. I think if you ask any Cubs, like he's remembered almost only for that reason.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got the Jose Macias autograph, it was also one of those times where like I was probably the only person who even knew who he was. Like it was in New York and there were other Cubs fans around, but not a level of Cubs fan who would have known who Jose Macias was.
Sure. Oh boy, spotty internet.
The Mets fan, and I got Jose Macias' autograph, and I think we had some conversation afterwards where I was like, "Do you think this is worth anything?" And he was like, "I think you probably devalued the ball."
Wait, did Jose say, or your Mets fan friend said that?
My friend said that. Yeah,
Yes.
no, Jose Macias did not say that about himself.
Sure, right. If it was if it was a brand new ball, there's a chance that's true. Yeah. That's a perfect thing to talk about because as we are
some other autographs that I had gotten from a fan fest that I went to. Can you still hear me okay?
You were frozen but then came back. You're freezing about once a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Oh, damn it. Well, you all who are listening understand the limitations of
Yes.
Of what's happening here. I found one that I need to get rid of because I feel like it's like bad juju to have in my house. It's a Steve Garvey autograph.
Yeah, Steve, he's kind of a problem guy.
Yeah, because he's like a big part of that '84 Padres team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. He was among their biggest studs, and I also think I'm using the word stud right because I think Steve Garvey fucks. I think he notoriously fucked a lot. I think he was really getting around. There's probably an actual anecdote that I could look up real quick, but we're obviously reaching and trying to find things to talk about in this time of no baseball. But there kind of has been some news that's developed recently about the Arizona plan. Yeah. Right? Do you want to tell us about that a little bit, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm not getting the details wrong, but basically, in working with whoever is in charge of such things in the federal government, MLB is attempting to devise a plan in which all games would be played in front of no audience in Arizona, utilizing all the spring training facilities and the Diamondbacks ballpark, which I still want to refer to as Bank One Ballpark. I know it's not.
Yeah, it's more fun, Bank One Ballpark, calling it the Bob. Yeah.
It's kind of unclear exactly how it would work, but it seems like they want everybody involved with the teams to be secluded there. And the thing that I read today was that not only is it that they would like essentially just go from hotel to the ballpark and back out to sit next to the dugout. They would have it devised in such a way where the players during a game supposedly would be sitting 6 feet apart from each other in the stands, which seems insane.
It seems like a crazy visual, and it's weird because this sounds like an idea off the top that, this wouldn't happen, right? But it's hard to tell what really is reality anymore, and this is a plan that's been discussed by the Players Union and Major League Baseball. So that it's crazy to be imagining the players are going to be 6 feet away from each other because they're not going to be on the field sometimes. That's unavoidable. I guess at that point, catchers and umpires. I also saw there might be automated strike zone stuff to sort of keep the umpires safer, which is crazy. It's just, it would make for a very weird season, but sort of my feeling on it, as we talked about before, is, it's fucking weird. Like, let's do what we can, I guess, within the realm of what's safe and reasonable. I don't care. I kind of don't care how weird it gets. If it's safe and they can do it. I also don't know how you can guarantee that it's safe. But one of the weirdest things is that, so there's 10 spring training fields. There's where the Diamondbacks play. And then there's 2 major college fields in that area as well. There's Arizona State, and I believe it's Grand Canyon University? Something like that. So that leaves us at 13 stadiums, which to have each team playing every day, you need 2 more stadiums than that. So they might be able to use a junior college or a high school or something, but it's all very weird. And there's talk of 7-inning double headers, to get teams in there. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing, I was talking to my mom about this, and she made the point, like, how the hell do you play, if this goes on longer, how are you playing games outside in Arizona in July?
Yeah, because where the Diamondbacks play is the only one that can be made indoors out of all of these places, Right. So that's another problem. And I guess that you're starting the games at night then, and maybe you're doing day-night doubleheaders with 4 teams in where the Diamondbacks play. But then my question is, in terms of contamination, then the locker rooms are being shared by more people, and then you have that's even more of a problem. So it still feels like a long shot, and especially since they're talking about what was floated was a May start date, and it's just I mean that won't happen. But you would need 2 to 3 weeks of ramping up again of spring training before teams are ready to go. But it's something that's actually being discussed, trying to, quote unquote, save the season, I guess.
As much as I love baseball and miss it horribly, it just doesn't feel like a smart idea to me.
No, I mean, not right now. I don't think this is anything you can commit to now, because we're sitting a week into April, basically. And just to, I think Brett Taylor's made this point on Bleacher Nation, where trying to predict 4 weeks from now with what we're doing, just think about what it was 4 weeks ago. A month ago from now, March 8th, March 9th, that was not, no one was in quarantine and lockdown at that point. It was things weren't canceled yet. So the world is that different 1 month later, and we don't know what it's going to be a month from now either. So it's an interesting idea being floated around, I guess, but also I don't know how you can make all the players agree to that if they don't feel comfortable with it, so. Right.
And it's already been, I saw a tweet from, I think, Chris Sale. There's also one from Eric Sogard's wife, but there's a number of tweets saying, like, if this means that none of the players can, like, see their kids for 5 months other than via Zoom, then we're not doing this.
Right. Yeah. So it seems like
that's a lot to ask of people.
Yeah, they're not in the military. They didn't sign up to ship off, as you said, I love baseball, but there's the greater good aspect of it is not overwhelming to the point where you can, where you should be able to force people to do this. But it is something that's being somewhat seriously considered right now, so worth addressing. Also, we've been trying to bring a weird thing a weird fun baseball thing to share on the podcast while we don't have actual new baseball to talk about. And we are tweeting some of those things out. So if you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, we're at AwayGamesPod on both those things if you want to stay up with us there. But yeah, do you want to get into our weird / fun things today, Adam?
Sure. I assume you saw what I posted yesterday from our Twitter account.
Which one? Which thing?
The T-shirt that I found.
Oh yes, yeah. It was. I mean, this sort of ties in with you going through the old stuff in your room, right?
Yeah, this wasn't even in my room. It was somewhere in my basement, and my mom brought up a couple shirts, and we're like, "Hey, do you still want these?" And it was the that like cream-colored 2003 NL Central Division Champs shirt. That honestly is one of my favorite shirts. It was a kind of cool looking shirt, and I remember ordering it like as soon as I could. I mean, it was harder to order things immediately in 2003, but like I remember after that doubleheader where the Cubs clinched the division, I was like, oh my God, because that was the first year that I really, I guess 98 kind of, but like 98 was when I got into baseball. So 2003 was the first year that the Cubs were like really, fun to watch all the way throughout. And I got to see almost every game.
Right.
So I was like, I need this shirt. And then obviously after the season ended the way it did, I kind of put the shirt away because I didn't want to be reminded of how it ended. Like it's the same thing as if we had had a bunch of 2016 NL champs shirts and then the Cubs got walked off in Cleveland. Like I don't know how much you'd want to wear like 2016 stuff.
Absolutely. Also in 2003. It was deeply depressing, but we all felt like, okay, we're coming back strong in 2004. 2003 was kind of akin to 2015, where
very much,
the Cubs were surprisingly good, but with a future. Whereas I would say 1998, which, as you're saying, was like also your sort of intro to baseball. 98 was really like I knew the Cubs won the division in '89, but I was 6 at the time, so I wasn't as into it. Right. But so 98 was really my first awareness of being a winning team. But that still felt like luck to me. I didn't feel, we were hopeful going into 99, but didn't have the hope that you had going into 2004. So in 04, you're like, okay, I'm not going to worry about this Central Division champ shirt the same way because we're bigger and better things are coming, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because that's how, sports works is that you're like working your way up to being a really elite team. But when you look at like 2003 and 2004, and 15 and 16. Also, I think you could make the point that 07 and 08 were very similar as well. And like 07 being this year that like surprises you a bit. And then even when they lose, you're like, well, it's still a step in the right direction. And like, we'll be back next year.
Totally.
But, until 2016, it never, it never quite panned out that way.
Yeah. And then 08 was great, but
yeah,
to a point, I guess.
So that was not my fun thing, but what's your fun thing?
Well, mine is more. It's just diving into one player who just passed away, Al Kaline. But he is. I think he's one of those interesting older players who the name and oh, that was a big time baseball player. But I think guys of that era, like 50s, 60s, often can get overlooked unless they were a Yankee or something. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to talk about some weird things he had. First of all, the name, Al Kaline.
Yeah, he's a battery.
Alkaline. How perfect, literally electric, jump-starting the offense and the defense. It's just a made-for-TV name to start with.
I wish he had been a pitcher or catcher so he could have literally been a battery mate.
Absolutely. I wonder if he did pitch like an inning at any point. That's something I should have looked up. But this is a guy who, so what would you know off the top about Al Kaline? Because the things I'm about to say, I did not know almost any of.
My knowledge of Al Kaline is that he's a Hall of Famer who was a Tiger.
Yeah.
That's the extent of it.
Yeah. So he was, they signed him out of high school and he went straight from high school to the majors. He skipped minor league baseball. He won the batting title at 20. At the age of 20, he had 340, and that was the youngest batting champ since Ty Cobb. Another Tiger, but Al Kaline gets the name of Mr. Tiger because people actually didn't hate him. So that's good. He played his whole career with a deformed left foot from when he was a kid. He had osteomyelitis, and he didn't even start wearing like a corrective shoe for it till deep into his career. He was the 10th first ballot Hall of Famer ever, which, that's way. I didn't realize that there were that few first ballot Hall of Famers to the point where he was.
What years did his career span?
Great. Basically, his career ended in 75. Or he started as a color commentator in 75 because then he was a color commentator for the Tigers from 75 to 2002. So he was in the broadcast booth for the team that long. Mm-hmm. Let's pull up his stat line real quick.
The thing about his left foot is like such a old school athlete sort of thing, where it's like I'm sure if you asked him like what that was like, he's like, oh, I was just in like there was just like shooting pain through my leg every game I ever played, and I just never complained about it.
Yeah, it's just something you deal with. Okay, so I was right. It ended in 1974, and then he went straight into the Tigers broadcast booth the next year. So his career went 53 to 74. Al Kaline, also, he won 10 Gold Gloves, made 15 All-Star games, and then he had a stat line that it bothers me because it's so close to so many milestones. And he fell just short of so many that I feel like if he had one game where he had a homer and 2 doubles that went 5 for 5, I think people would think he's a lot better because he ended his career with a 297 batting average, so just short of 300, 399 homers, right on 399, super annoying, and 498 doubles. So it's like he's one good game away from being a level up, it feels
his entire career is Chris Bryant's 2015.
Oh, God, yeah. I remember being very angsty about that. I get very angsty about Rizzo's stats, too. I want the 3100s every year just for him. Yeah, he did get 3,000 hits. He got 3,007 hits. So yeah, and he just passed away, but I think he's a guy who people don't know a lot about, and I thought it was fun to sort of do sort of a dive into his career. And he stayed after he retired from being color commentator for the Tigers in 2002. He stayed with the team in an assistant to the front office role up through last year. So he spent 67 years with the Tigers.
Jeez Louise.
In some capacity. So Al Kaline, R.I.P. dude.
I think that qualifies you as Mr. Tiger for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what an equivalent for the Cubs would be, and I guess it would have been if Ryne Sandberg went straight into the broadcast booth and never left, something like that.
Right.
But,
yeah, I don't think the Cubs have a version of that, really.
Yeah, not that.
I guess. Yeah, who would it? Ron Santo?
Yeah,
Ron Santo. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Santo's the closest thing. He played the 1 year with the White Sox, but he's a guy who, he came up with the Cubs Hall of Famer and then was a broadcaster for a long time. That probably is the closest thing.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my mom if she has memories of seeing Al Kaline play. I bet she does, because they played the Brewers constantly, and she was like always going to Brewers games.
Yeah.
They were in the same division, I assume, or right?
Yeah, they were both AL East back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just at that point maybe just the American League at the beginning. Yeah. So, and he also won the Roberto Clemente Award once, which is perfect as a great defensive outfielder, but also as a person. Whereas Ty Cobb, I don't know, would have won the Cap Anson Award. Whatever you get, there should be an award.
Ty Cobb won the Kennesaw Mountain Landis Award.
Yeah, there should be an award for just being an asshole racist. There should be an award given to the worst man in baseball every year.
So the Clint Hurdle Award?
Clint Hurdle, we can get involved. Addison Russell would have had a shot, Yeah, we can. The away games can sponsor our own worst piece of shit award and give it out at the end of the year. Speaking
of Addison Russell, amongst the things that I went through, I had brought some Cub stuff home last summer just because I didn't have room for it in my apartment when I moved, and amongst those things are the two highly sought after bobbleheads that they gave away in 2017. One of which was the Final Out bobblehead, which is Bryant and Rizzo. And the other was I think it's called Turn 2, and it's Russell and Baez. And they're all very cool looking bobbleheads, but I really wish I could just take a saw and cut the Russell half off so I could just have a hobby bobblehead. Yeah. We need to find some sort of craftsman to to make that a perfect little piece of memorabilia. Because I do have that now. After having cleaned up my room, I put all the random autographed baseballs up, and I put those bobbleheads up, and then I clearly had saved a large Cubs helmet from Nachos and a small Cubs helmet from Soft Serve Ice Cream. Love it. Get you a man who can do both. Exactly. Okay, so my fun thing was going to be, I also, in going through stuff in my room, found my N64, and along with it, the first. Well, it wasn't the first baseball video game I had, but it was the game that I had for N64, which was I think it's called MLB Extra Innings 97 was the game. And so I was going to ask you, what is the first baseball game you remember playing? Because for me, it's there was a game called Extra Innings for Super Nintendo that was horrible. And then there was Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, which is, of course, iconic. I would say Griffey, even though I know I did play RBI baseball for regular Nintendo. And this is the weirdness of child Kevin. I would, when I would play with the Cubs in RBI baseball, I remember thinking that Greg Maddux could really hit at the time. And for a pitcher, he kind of could. But I would very frequently hit Maddux in the eight hole. In the A-hole? In the A. Yeah, don't. Yeah, he still holds a grudge, but he in the 8 hole, right in front of I forget who I had 9, but I remember even being as a child liking the idea of the secondary leadoff hitter and hitting a good hitting pitcher 8th. So I did that. Joe Madden-ass kid. Yes, I would prefer that than La Russa. Yes. So I do remember playing RBI baseball, but I think Griffey is the first one I played a lot, I think, for Super Nintendo. Well, and what was great about Griffey was that he was the only real player named. Yeah, it was the inverse of NBA Live with Jordan, where Jordan was the only player not in the game. Yeah, Jordan was roster guard number 99. Yeah. Griffey, so I remember, because it was very clear who the other players on the Mariners were, because the guy who was supposed to be Randy Johnson was named Bolt Lightning. Great. And he was this lefty who was, amazing. And then there was Viper and More Ramirez. Oh, I don't remember his names. Yeah, that's great. A More Eel. I don't remember who was on the Cubs because I always played as the Mariners because they were the best team. Great team. But there were players who because I think it was around the time that I'm trying to think of what year that would have come out. 94, 95. Yeah, because you could tell who like they were trying to, compare these fictitious characters to on the Cubs.
It's like how it'd be with the old EA Sports college football game where they couldn't use the names, but this fucking guy's Tim Tebow.
Exactly.
They have all the attributes.
Yeah, the one I had for N64, that was actually pretty realistic, and I remember I need to see if it still works and play a game just for fun. But I remember one thing that I would do. I had it on a setting where like they would put when the ball was hit into the outfield, they would put like a circle of like where you were supposed to go, which I think is probably not the hardest setting because it shows you where you're supposed to run. But I would always try to Jim Edmonds it and wait until the last minute and then dive for it just because it looked cooler.
Yeah. Had a very good diving mechanic in that game too. There's games now. MLB The Show now. I play it. I'm pretty good at it. I'm very much enjoying the season. I've gone very deep into general manager mode with this Cubs roster. But the diving mechanic is not as good. You can't really. It's harder to get to the ball with dives. You end up clowning around. But Griffey knew what was up.
The other thing about those older games from like the 90s is that they clearly did not do as much pre-planned voiceover work because the announcers repeat themselves constantly. Like they have one way that they say every pitch, and they'll just keep saying it with that same weird intonation every single time for an entire game.
Yeah, I'd have to mute it now for sure.
Oh yeah, like I don't know, it's these weird like memories that are seared into my brain from 20 years ago. But whenever somebody threw a screwball, the announcer would always call it Scroogey. And he would always say it the exact same way and never screw up. Scroogey, in there for a strike.
Also, Scroogey's much more prevalent in the Griffey game than they are in real baseball.
Yes, you do not see. I don't even know. I can't name a person who's thrown a screwball in recent memory.
I believe Brent Honeywell of the Tampa Bay Rays, who struggled with some injuries but was a hot prospect, throws a screwy.
Does he come from old appliance money?
I hope so. From the Honeywell appliance. Yeah, it's weird. Some families have it all. They the appliance fortunes and natural athletic gifts and a screwball. Yeah.
Don't you mean a Scroogey?
Scroogey. Scroogey sounds like something you put in the 8-hole. You know what I mean? It sounds aggressively sexual.
8-hole.
Yes, exactly.
I also, did you ever play Slugfest?
No.
So MLB Slugfest was like NFL Blitz for baseball, where the whole game was like baseball was secondary to people just beating the shit out of each other.
Arcade style, yeah.
Oh, it was great.
That's fun. No, I never. Yeah.
If you ever got hit with a pitch, without you even doing anything, the batter would like at the bat on the ground and then come out and fight the pitcher.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, then that's all you're doing for the most part. Then it's just you have basically it's like having Mortal Kombat but just on a baseball field.
Yeah, and everybody like looked completely roided out on purpose.
Yeah. Right. They knew what was up. They knew how to have fun.
Even like Juan Pierre was like, looked like Barry Bonds.
Jacked Juan Pierre. Yeah. Exactly. This guy's hitting six bombs a year. Yeah.
Oh man.
Those are
yeah. That's all I got.
Those are some good fun things. Video game stuff and Al Kaline. What more do you want from a baseball podcast in the midst of a baseball-less pandemic than that? And Adam's thing is beeping again, which is fine. We're done here. If you want to follow us, as we said before, follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter, on Instagram at Away Games Pod, and we're gonna keep doing these podcasts once a week for you until, God dang it, baseball comes back one day, hopefully. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Anything else, Adam? Anything to plug on the way out of here?
No, I mean, I'm still doing my bizarre Instagram things. So if anybody wants to follow me at Adam Mamawala, you can watch Mondays with Maksud, a talk show with my dad from my kitchen table my childhood home every Monday night. And celeb stories, where I'm talking to people about their bizarre celebrity encounters that I imagine you'll be on sometime soon if you want to be. So that's every Tuesday and Thursday.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I'll hitch up Thursday if you got an opening.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I think I do.
Follow him at follow him on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow me at Kevin McCaff if you want. I'm putting up videos and stuff more now with all the free time. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you later.